My pregnant wife kicked me out. Then I met our baby on Facebook. I wasn't invited to the birth, the DNA test explained why. My 34. Wife Madison 31, is the kind of person who narrates her life like it's a trailer. Jump cuts, dramatic music, nothing in between. We'd been married 4 years, expecting our first kid in September, and I genuinely thought we were one of those obnoxious Instagram couples people mute. Then one Tuesday night in June she told me, "Evan, I can't breathe with you here," handed me a pre-packed duffel like a hotel concierge and asked me to give her space for the baby. No fight, no tears, just this practiced calm like she'd rehearsed in the mirror. For the record, I'm not the dramatic one. I'm a software guy who alphabetizes spices and sets phone reminders to water plants. But that night felt wrong in a way my bones noticed first. The crib half assembled. Her hospital bag already zipped. A faint whiff of cologne I don't wear. Our dog Otis whining at the door like he knew I shouldn't leave. I told myself it was hormones. My mom, Linda, 58, called it nesting chaos. Dad, Mark, 63, said, "Give her the week, champ." Madison's mom, Cheryl, who loves a villain, texted me, "This is why I told her to marry older," as if I'd just been demoted from fiancé to au pair. Her dad, Ron, sent a thumbs-up reaction to the group chat and disappeared. So I crash at my brother's place. First night I can't sleep. I scroll through old ultrasound pics and those cringy bump videos we did in the grocery store cereal aisle. Then I see a weird thing. On our phone bill there's a Pizza Hub number Madison called every night after 11. We don't even have a Pizza Hub in Austin. I shrug it off. Paranoia is a jealous man's hobby. The week to breathe becomes 2. She answers my check-ins with emojis. Baby's good baby bottle sparkles. She declines FaceTime with, "I look gross." When I ask about the 36-week appointment she says, "Cheryl's taking me, you'll just stress me out." I swallow my pride and Venmo her for groceries anyway. I hang the onesies at my brother's like prayer flags. On a sticky Thursday morning, my aunt posts balloon emojis on Facebook and tags Madison at St. David's. There's a hospital wristband, a baby swaddled like a burrito, and a caption, "Welcome little miracle." Madison hasn't texted me. My name isn't in the post. The father's name isn't either. I stare at the screen so long the phone dims, and when it wakes there's one new message from Madison, "Don't come." I went anyway. St. David's smelled like lemon cleaner and old coffee. I took the elevator to L&D with a balloon from the gift shop because I'm an idiot who thinks props help. At the nurse's station, I said my wife's name and the nurse's smile dropped like a curtain. "She left instructions," she said, suddenly reading invisible notes in the air. Security materialized, soft voices, big hands. Cheryl appeared too, makeup perfect, wearing a t-shirt that said Gigi in glitter. "Evan, you're upsetting her," she hissed like I was a stranger who'd wandered in from the parking lot. "Is the baby okay?" I asked. She put a hand on my arm like she was steadying a drunk. "He's perfect. Go home." Behind her, a door cracked open. For half a second I saw Madison propped up in bed, hair braided, eyes lined for the camera, cradling a swaddled burrito. Next to her, a man in a slate hoodie leaned in, his palm on her knee like he belonged there. The door clicked. Security asked me to leave. I did because there's only so much humiliation you can stack before it topples. Back at my brother's I stopped being polite. Madison and I share an Apple ID for purchases. My iPad sometimes picks up her texts when she forgets to log out. I powered it up like a detective in a late-night procedural and there they were, a thread with Pizza Hub. Not a store. A man. Their messages weren't pornographic so much as humid. "Your neck," he wrote. "The way you go quiet when I find that spot." A mirror selfie from our guest bath. Madison in my t-shirt, one hand under the hem, the other holding her phone, the curve of her belly reflected in the glass. A timestamp from the night she needed air. A hotel receipt in my email for a king room at the Hyde, charged to our joint card 2 miles from our house. The memo line, prenatal yoga retreat. And then a voice memo I almost didn't press because I'm not brave. Her laughing, whispering, "Chase, you're bad for me," a breath, a rustle, his answer low and certain, "Then be bad." Just, not a pizza. Not a stranger either. Chase Turner, the new wellness director at her boutique gym, the guy with the sleeve tattoos and the TED Talk about grit. He'd spotted me the day I tried to be supportive in her couples class and said, "Respect man," like I was loaning him my wife. I scrolled further back and the skeletons started tap dancing. Photos from a lake house I didn't recognize, a baby shower invite from her cousin where I was not on the RSVP, a note from Cheryl, "Don't tell Evan until you're sure," followed by a winky face. There were gift receipts for jewelry I never saw and an order for a birth photographer, named Chase's sister. The timeline wasn't fuzzy anymore. It was a spreadsheet. Madison finally texted at 2 a.m. He's here. 6 pounds 3 ounces. Don't make this about you. I typed and deleted 100 things before sending just 2 words, paternity test. Her reply came fast like she'd been waiting, you're disgusting. Then a beat later, come tomorrow. We should talk. We met at a coffee shop across from the hospital because she didn't want drama in front of the baby. Madison arrived in leggings and a hospital bracelet, mascara already perfect. She slid into the booth like a celebrity dodging paparazzi and opened with, "You embarrassed me." Not hello. Not I had a child today. Embarrassed her. I asked for a paternity test, I said. Calm voice, hands flat on the table like I was showing the dealer I wasn't hiding cards. She went full Broadway. "You're abusive," she announced to the sugar packets. "You control me. You wouldn't even let me breathe. Chase is just support." The word support did a lot of work. Then she cried without tears. I handed her a napkin anyway because I'm still me. I put my phone down between us and tapped the iMessage thread. "Pizza Hut," I said. Her mouth twitched. "That's a group order," she tried. I scrolled to the hotel receipt. "Prenatal yoga retreat," I read. "It was restorative," she said, chin up. So I played the 10-second voice memo, the soft laugh Chase's, "Then be bad," quiet enough that only we could hear it. Her nostrils flared. "That's taken out of context," she snapped, which is the national anthem of people with no context left. She pivoted fast. "Look, okay, I messed up. It was 2 times. Maybe 3. She lifted 3 fingers then tucked one down. "We were basically separated. You left, you kicked me out," I said. "To calm things down for the baby," she countered. "And my therapist said, you don't have a therapist," I said. "Right, I mean YouTube," she corrected, and my coffee suddenly tasted like ash. Outside in the parking lot she went frantic. She grabbed my sleeve with both hands. "Evan, please, please. He needs a dad. You're a good man. We can reset." She actually sank to her knees on the oil-slick asphalt, belly round under the hoodie, whispering, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry," like a spell. People stared. I tried to lift her gently but she clung, nails in my wrist, and hissed, "Say you'll come home." When I didn't, she stood, wiped her knees, and became someone else. "Fine. You want a test? Do your little test." Her phone buzzed. She turned it so I could see, "Chase Redheart, how'd it go?" She swiped it away like a fruit fly. "He's harmless," she said. "He's just artful. Chase teaches burpees." Then came the family cavalry. Cheryl pulled up in a white Lexus and stepped out like a daytime Emmy. "Evan, stop punishing her," she said, hugging Madison and shooting me a look that could tan leather. Ron followed slower, pocketing a scratch-off ticket. "We all make mistakes, son," he said like he'd just dinged my bumper at Target. Cheryl leaned in close. "Also, your mother called me," she added, savoring it. "She's concerned. Maybe if you weren't so rigid." My phone rang. "Mom." "Honey, come home," she said, voice already breaking. "Your father's packing a bag. We'll figure it out in the morning." Behind her, Dad shouted, "No yelling, just printing," which I later learned meant he was literally printing out the text thread like it was evidence for a congressional hearing. Madison softened again, fast as a cloud over the sun. "Let's write a new chapter," she said, touching my chest. "Delete the old one. We'll be a team." Her eyes were big and hopeful and absolutely clinically empty. "Test first," I said. "Then you'll come home?" she asked. I didn't answer. She smiled anyway like she'd heard yes. And that was the scariest lie of the day, the one she told herself. I spent the next day doing what my dad calls honest work. Not feelings, facts. I pulled bank statements, cross-referenced locations, and spread screenshots across my brother's dining table like a grim scrapbook. Pattern emerged fast. Late-night Lyft rides from our street to the Hyde, Venmos to CT Wellness with strawberry and flame emojis, an Etsy order for a necklace engraved Wild Thing shipped to a P.O. box I didn't know existed. There was even a $400 charge to Shuttermuse Photography, Chase's sister, who captioned Madison's birth photos, "Motherhood in its raw power." Raw power apparently doesn't include the father's name. In the camera roll sync I found a video I wish I could unsee and weirdly can't stop watching. It's not porn, it's worse. Madison in our guest room, propping the phone on a stack of towels, whispering, "I shouldn't," while Chase's hands enter frame and settle on her shoulders from behind. He kisses that spot just below her ear, The one I discovered 3 summers ago on a beach day, slow, proprietary. She goes quiet in that way she does when she's fully present, humming a little under her breath, and for 10 seconds I could have sworn I was watching a life we used to have. Then he says, "You like being bad when you're good," and she laughs in a way I've never earned. That laugh split me clean. I wanted to hate her. I also wanted to fix it. I texted Madison that night, "We can talk after results." She replied 5 minutes later with a photo of the baby's hand wrapped around her finger like a promise and wrote, "He has your hands." My chest did a dumb hop. Then I noticed the hospital bassinet card peeking in the corner, the father line left blank. More skeletons, a shared Google Calendar I wasn't on labeled Luna Circle, the gym's women's retreat, that was actually weekends at a lake house in Canyon Lake. I found the listing because Ron, father-in-law of the year, left a review on Airbnb praising the Bose speakers. The host profile picture? Chase holding a paddleboard. In the background, on the mantle, there's a framed photo of Cheryl, younger, sitting on a bar stool with the same man's arm around her waist. I sent the picture to my brother with, "Is that?" He zoomed, sent back, "Dude?" Mom came over with casserole like grief has a menu. Dad brought a stapled packet titled Timeline of Nonsense, and a highlighter. We were halfway through color coding when my phone lit up with an unknown number. "You don't know me," a woman said, voice tight, "but I'm Kate Turner. I'm Chase's wife." Wife? She'd found my number on an old invite for Madison's birthday dinner? "Oh, remember when she cried because the sushi roll looked at her?" Kate said, bitter charming. Kate had 2 kids under 6 and a minivan with snacks fossilized in the cup holders. She'd been suspicious since Christmas, when Chase worked late, on December 24th and came home smelling like my cedar beard oil because Madison re-gifted it to him in a white elephant exchange. Kate had receipts, I had receipts, we started building a cathedral out of them. "Do you want to blow it up together or keep it quiet for court?" she asked. Both, I thought. But the first honest answer I gave all week was, court first. We scheduled the paternity test for Monday because apparently my life needed office hours. The clinic was gray carpet and motivational posters about healthy choices. Madison arrived late with a stroller, Cheryl in tow, both of them smelling like vanilla body spray and denial. Chase hovered in the parking lot pretending to text, sunglasses on like he was auditioning for Guy Who Doesn't Care. The nurse explained it like kindergarten. Cheek swab for baby, cheek swab for me. Madison tried to complicate it. "He's too sleepy," she said, pinching the baby's foot so he'd cry, then rocking theatrically. "Can we do a hair test? Or like a home kit?" My doula said. The nurse deadpanned, "Open," and did it anyway with 3 practice swipes. When it was my turn, Madison stood too close, whispering, "You're shaking," like she'd found a weakness to press. Cheryl reached into her tote and pulled out a Ziploc. "I brought alternatives," she said, producing a Q-tip like she'd unlocked a cheat code. The nurse blinked. "Ma'am, that's not how science works." Cheryl hissed, "We're trying to avoid trauma," which is what people say right before they create it. On my way out I passed Chase by the vending machines. He nodded at the baby carrier and said, "He's a looker," like he was congratulating himself. Up close he had a small dark bruise under his jaw. Light erotica, if you need it. It was exactly where Madison's mouth liked to land when she was feeling victorious. I hated that knowing sat in my bones like a splinter. Kate met me in the parking lot, visor up, a stack of manila folders buckled into the passenger seat. "He tried to sell our lake house for liquidity," she said, handing me printouts. "Except it's in my dad's name." She tapped one photo, the Canyon Lake mantle. "That's not Chase," she said, pointing at the arm around Cheryl in the old picture. "That's his dad. Cliff." My stomach dropped. Cliff Turner, the man Cheryl dated back when Madison was in high school, according to a family story that always ended with "he was too wild." So Madison's lover was the son of her mom's ex-family tree or kudzu. When I told my parents, Mom sat down like a puppet whose strings got snipped. "Cheryl always did love a Turner," she said, voice sharp. Dad underlined it on his timeline of nonsense and wrote "Greek tragedy" in the margin like we were workshopping a play. Madison texted that night, "We don't need results to know you're his dad. Look at his ears. Then, if you come home now we can start healing." Then minutes later when I didn't bite, "Kate is poisoning you. She's unstable." She followed with a photo of her on the nursery floor, hair loose, tank top sliding off one shoulder, the kind of image engineered to short-circuit logic. The caption, "This used to be ours." I stared too long. I almost wrote, "Let me come see him." Then I thought of the Ziploc bag in Cheryl's tote and Chase's bruise and pressed the side button until the screen went black. At 1 a.m., Ron called me from a number labeled Ron New, don't pick up. Against my own advice, I picked up. You're a good kid, he said, scratchy slot machine hum in the background. But women like my Cheryl and my Maddie, they don't do sorry. They do next. Get yourself to next before they do. He hung up, and a second later Madison texted, my dad is drunk, ignore him, proving in real time that nothing in this family happens without someone else narrating it. Results would take a few days. In the meantime, I made my own choices. I told Madison, no more home visits, no more look at him drive-bys. Lawyer communication only. She responded with a crying selfie, then a photo of the baby's footprint, then a voice memo of her whispering, please don't make me a single mom. I saved everything, labeled a folder Sunlight, and slept, badly but finally in a bed that didn't smell like someone else's cologne. The results came in a manila envelope like a pop quiz you didn't study for. I sat in my car outside the clinic, AC blasting cold enough to hurt, and ran my thumb under the seal. Probability of paternity, 0%. Not low. Not uncertain. 0. It landed inside me with the clean finality of a door locking from the other side. For a full minute I couldn't hear the city. Then everything got loud at once. Delivery trucks, a siren blocks away, my own breath doing that stutter thing like I'd sprinted. I took a picture of the page and texted it to Madison, and because I promised her, to Kate. I typed nothing, just the photo. Madison called instantly. I let it ring out. She called again. Then Cheryl. Then Ron. Then an unknown number that turned out to be Chase, who left a voicemail that started with, bro, we can all be adults, and ended with, don't be weird about child support. I drove to my parents with the envelope face down on the passenger seat like it might bite me. Mom opened the door and knew from my face. She did that mom thing where she reached for the paper and for my cheek at the same time. Dad read it once, then again, then said very quietly, okay. Then he pulled a yellow highlighter from behind his ear. Why are dads like this? And colored the 0% like he was illuminating a manuscript. Clarity, he said. Clarity is a kindness. Madison showed up within the hour, baby carrier slung over one arm, fury over the other. No knock. She breezed in like she had a key. This is wrong, she announced, setting the carrier on our kitchen table like a trump card. They mixed it up. We need a second test. A blood test. My friend's cousin does private labs. She sounded like a teenager busted with a vape. When I didn't respond, she ramped up. Evan, look at him. He has your ears. He didn't. He looks at me the way you do. He was asleep. We made him. We didn't. When that didn't melt me, she tried a different script. She slid down the cabinet to the floor, head in her hands, then reached for my knee like a drowning swimmer. Please, she said, voice raw. Don't abandon us. I was stupid. I was lonely. You made work your mistress. I work 8 to 5. It was only emotional. Hotel receipts say otherwise. She pivoted to rage so fast I got whiplash. Fine. Be a coward. You're not a real man if you walk away from a child. She spit the last word like a challenge coin. Cheryl arrived in echo, heels, perfume, performance. Evan, sweetheart, you're in shock, she said, arms wide, already steering Madison toward the nursery that wasn't theirs. We'll get a real lap. And of course you'll be on the birth certificate. Mom stepped between them with the force of a weather front. He will not, she said, and I watched Cheryl's smile crack, hairline fine. Kate texted me a single line, I'm so sorry. Then, I've got you if you want the next steps. Next steps like we were walking across stones in a river? I texted back, sunlight. She replied, copy. That night, I wrote one careful message to both families. Short, factual, receipts attached. I didn't add adjectives. I didn't ask for sides. I hit send and my phone lit up like a slot machine. My aunt, what the actual, my cousin. Here if you need to scream. Ron, this is private, man. Cheryl, you're humiliating my daughter. Chase, because apparently he was in every group chat now, this is messy, we can fix it offline. Madison, finally, you're trying to destroy me. I turned off notifications and stared at the ceiling in my childhood bedroom. Here's the worst part, for an hour, maybe 2, I still pictured saying yes. Not to her, not to Chase, God no, but to the small human who didn't pick any of this. I imagined the version where I swallow the pride that's choking me, sign what they hand me, and become the guy who shows up to soccer practice and parent-teacher night and never, ever mentions DNA. It almost felt noble. It also felt like laying down on a train track and calling it a nap. At 3 a.m. I sat up, turned on the lamp, and wrote myself a sentence on a sticky note. Being good does not mean being used. I stuck it to the manila envelope and slept for 4 hours without dreaming. I didn't torch her life. I turned on the lights. First I sent one message, calm, boring, to Madison, Chase, and both sets of parents. Effective immediately, communicate through counsel only. I will not be on the birth certificate. Do not come to my parents' home. Then I blocked everything but email. It was like plugging a leak. The room finally stopped hissing. Kate and I compared notes like two accountants closing a cursed quarter. She sent me screenshots of Chase's client relations at the gym, late-night DMs to half the membership, recycled compliments pasted like Mad Libs. I forwarded those, with dates and receipts, to the gym's HR email that's probably a broom closet. I didn't editorialize. Subject line, boundary issues with staff, documentation attached. 10 minutes later, the wellness director's Instagram went dark. Small mercy, but I took it. For the family reveal, I did one post to a private Facebook list, no public shaming, no hashtags. Photo of the lab result with my name blurred, a short caption, please stop asking why I wasn't at the hospital. We have clarity. I'm stepping back to heal. I didn't name names. People can read a map. Cheryl called my mother inside of 4 minutes to scream about defamation. Mom handed the phone to Dad, who said, facts aren't defamation, and hung up like he'd been waiting his whole life to deliver that line. Madison found a back door. She emailed from a new address, subject, for your eyes only. Inside was a selfie in our nursery, hair messy beautiful, tank top slipping, her signature quicksand. Just come hold him, she wrote, you'll understand. Then the hook, I named him after you. I had to sit down. I stared at the birth certificate she attached and felt relief. She hadn't. She'd named him River. Beautiful. Not mine. I forwarded the email to my folders Sunlight, then to my lawyer. The petty chapter, I boxed her things from my brother's garage, fitness bands, glitter sneakers, a book called Untamed, and labeled the lid Prenatal Yoga Retreat, then crossed it out and wrote Hyde Hotel with the dates. I left it on Cheryl's porch with a receipt for half the joint account withdrawals paperclipped to the handle. One and done. Okay, I allowed myself a post-it inside the shoebox. Check the camera roll sync. I'm not a saint. The bigger twist came from Ron, of all people. He sent a photo of a birth announcement from 2006, Cheryl and Cliff Turner grinning like prom royalty, holding a baby that wasn't Madison. Oh boy. Your mom used to call me to pick her up when Cliff drank, Ron texted. She always went back. Cliff is Chase's dad. The Turners and Cheryl have been orbiting each other for decades like moths around a porch light. Skeletons don't stay in closets when the door has been a revolving one. HR replied, short, corporate, grateful. We take member safety seriously. 2 women messaged my private inbox with, same man, same lines. Kate filed a formal complaint. The gym posted a bland statement about upholding values, and Chase updated his bio to taking time for family. Translation, consequences. At night the ache still didn't go. I'd reach for the phantom weight of a baby and grab air. But the house got quieter inside my chest. And with the noise fading I started to hear something else. My own voice, steady, saying keep going. My lawyer, Priya, speaks in clean edges. You're not the father. That is the foundation, she said, tapping the lab report like a metronome. She drafted 3 things. A cease and desist for the you'll be on the birth certificate chorus, a formal notice to the hospital correcting records, and a bland but ironclad no contact except counsel letter. You don't have to set yourself on fire to keep anyone warm, she added, which is the kind of line you wish you'd invented before you needed it. Fallout came fast. The gym put Chase on leave. Kate found a second phone in his golf bag, the kind with 9 contacts and names like M. Purple Heart Bar, and Heather, no dairy. She texted me a photo of it on their kitchen counter next to a dinosaur lunchbox and wrote, I want to scream into a jar. Same. Madison tried new doors nightly. One evening at 11:47, she pounded on my parents' porch with River in a carrier and a ring light. We need a family photo, she announced, pushing past my dad like she was checking in at a hotel. Mom stepped between us, calm but volcanic. You need to go, she said. Madison's eyes glittered. He promised to love me in sickness and in health, she said, like she was reading vows off the back of a cereal box. Cheryl hovered on the sidewalk, whispering stage directions. Say the insurance thing. Madison spun. Fine. My OB coded the delivery wrong. If Evan signs the billing, she bit it off too late. Skeleton meets Sunlight. Dad exhaled so hard a leaf skittered across the porch. 2 days later, Priya called. You should know, she said carefully, Chase submitted his own paternity test. Also 0. I sat down on the curb. Somewhere in the neighborhood a sprinkler clicked on. So who? I started. Priya, gentle, not your problem. Foundation. But foundations wrestle with earthquakes. I pictured Madison's humid texts, the hotel, the lake house, the rotating cast at the gym, the way secrets breed in the dark like mold. I felt grief for a baby who was already a triangle with wrong angles. Ron texted me a pin, Canyon Lake. Just go look, he wrote. I drove out at sunset, the water copper and flat as a coin. The Turner Lake house sat smug on the hill, paddleboard stacked like teeth. On the dock, a single flip-flop. On the mantel inside, because the back door was unlocked, because of course it was, a new photo. Chase and Madison in matching denim, him holding River like a prop, Cheryl behind them in a white dress that pretended to be purity. But there, tucked behind the frame, an old Polaroid curled with heat. Cheryl in that same room 20 years ago, Cliff Turner's hand on her waist, his smile feral. Kudzu, not a family tree. I didn't smash anything. I locked the back door on my way out, the loudest click I've ever heard. On the drive home my brother called. You need something to build that isn't a case file, he said. Come with me Saturday. There's an intro class, sailing on Lady Bird Lake. Wind therapy. I almost said no. Then I thought about the way my life had shrunk to screenshots and envelopes. Okay, I said. Okay. When I got back, Madison had emailed a 2,000-word apology that began with, I'm a passionate person, and ended with, you made me do things I'm not proud of. She included a photo of River's ear next to mine, arrows drawn, as if anthropology might reverse DNA. I closed the laptop. I wrote one sentence on a sticky note and put it above my desk. Clarity is a kindness. Then I turned off every light in the house, stood in the soft dark, and let the quiet finally mean something other than loss. Saturday morning my brother tossed me a life jacket and said, Rule 1, point the boat where you want to go, not where you're scared you'll end up. The dock guy handed us a stubby little dinghy with a dented bow and the optimistic name Skipper. I hadn't been on a sailboat since summer camp. The lake air tasted like pennies and sunscreen. When the wind finally caught, the sail snapped full and the boat heeled just enough to wake my body up. The instructor, Ava, forearms like braided rope, shouted, sheet in, and my hands did the work. For 90 minutes my brain shut up. Every adjustment had an answer. Pull, ease, tack, breathe. No subtext. No riddles. Just wind and line and water. Halfway through, a squall skidded over the hills and sprinkled the lake. I flinched. Of course a storm had to find me, but Ava laughed. This is the good part, she said, eyes bright. Now you learn. We pivoted into it, the boat shouldering the gust. My brother whooped. I grinned like an idiot. When we docked, my phone had a new essay from Madison titled, My Truth. It was a Notes app screenshot posted to her private Insta and forwarded to me by 4 cousins. I was abandoned in my most vulnerable moment, it began, but I choose love. She'd included a sepia-tinted photo of River and a line about generational cycles ending with me. The comments were a grief parade of hearts and men ain't. A few were from gym women I recognized. One said, he didn't deserve you. I typed, deleted. Then I posted nothing. Kate DM'd me a single confetti emoji and a screenshot of Madison's next story, taking a social media break. The gym's bland HR statement had sprouted teeth in the comments. Sunlight does what it does. I filed for divorce Monday. Priya slid the manila folder across the table, and I signed my name until the letters looked like strangers. I sold my ring to a jeweler who didn't ask questions and used the cash for a 10-class sailing pack and a thrift store road bike that made me feel 11 again. I moved into a 1-bedroom walk-up with ugly carpet and the best morning light. I bought a plant I would not kill. I put the sticky notes, clarity is a kindness, being good does not mean being used, on the fridge like prayers. First wins came small and sneaky. I cooked an omelet without Googling it. I slept 6 hours without waking to phantom crying. I taught Otis to heel without Madison's high-pitched good boy that made him pee. I rode the bike at dusk along the boardwalk, headphones off, listening to the thunk of basketballs and someone practicing trumpet 3 buildings over. On Sunday I took a solo sail and didn't capsize even when a motorboat's wake slapped my hull like a dare. I washed my sheets and they smelled like sun, not cologne I didn't own. VC. Ron called from a quieter place. I put 2 and 2 together, he said. Cheryl's been paying a man named Nate, owner of the gym, for consulting. He's around. Translation, there was a fourth corner to this triangle, and the geometry finally stopped making sense. You didn't deserve any of this, he added, voice wobbling. I should have said no the night she sent me to block you at the hospital. I believed him and I didn't. Both can be true. Madison tried one more angle, an email with the subject, "We could be the adults." Inside was a long plan where I mentor River as a bonus parent, while she and Chase work on us. She promised boundaries like a politician on primary day. I stared at it long enough to memorize the cadence of her tricks. Then I replied with one sentence. I wish you healing that has nothing to do with me. Priya CC, because it's amazing how brave you can be when your lawyer is copied. That night, alone in my place, I did something reckless. I let myself miss the version of her that never existed. I felt the ghost of a tiny hand wrapping my finger. I cried until my eyes hurt. Then I brushed my teeth, folded laundry, set out my running shoes and texted my brother, "Next weekend longer sail?" His reply came fast, "Wind permitting." I slept with the window cracked, the room filled with night sounds that didn't require decoding. The divorce hearing was 15 minutes of sentences that felt like cliff edges. The judge stamped, slid and said "good luck," in a voice like a school nurse. Madison didn't look at me. She wore white again, the color she uses when she wants to reboot. Chase wasn't there. Kate was sitting behind me like a lighthouse, a silent, keep off the rocks. 2 days later the last twist unspooled, not with fireworks but with a spreadsheet. The gym's owner, Nate the consultant Ron hinted at, was escorted out by men in polos. HR's values post grew teeth, comments turned to screenshots. A local blog wrote "Wellness cult implodes." Madison posted, "I am focusing on River and my healing," and then like a clock emailed me at 1:12 a.m., "I made a terrible mistake. You were my anchor." There was a photo attached, her on the nursery floor, mascara comets, the baby asleep on her chest. She wrote, "Come home. We can be a family anyway." I read it 3 times, felt the old ache flare, and realized something so simple I almost laughed. The door I kept waiting to walk through wasn't mine to open anymore. I'd already left and it had closed behind me with that soft, final click. Revenge never landed like a victory lap. It landed like paperwork in daylight. The gym reset. Kate filed, found a therapist who made her laugh, planned a road trip with the kids to see tide pools. Ron started going to meetings in a church basement that smells like burnt coffee. Cheryl doubled down on denial and posted Bible verses under thirst traps. People are puzzles you can't solve. You just stop trying to jam the wrong pieces. I booked a cheap flight to Port Townsend with the money from my ring and took a 3-day coastal sailing course. The water was still and alive. The wind called me by my actual name. I learned to read a sky. At night I ate fish tacos with my instructor crew and slept the sleep of clean sheets and earned fatigue. Back in Austin I volunteered on Saturdays teaching kids to rig lines. One boy asked if the boat was brave. I said, "It's small and it floats. That's enough." The last thing Madison sent was a photo of River's first smile. No caption. I stared until the edges blurred and said a quiet, private blessing for a child who deserved a village that wasn't a funhouse. Then I moved the email to sunlight and went for a run at dusk, the boardwalk lit like a landing strip. Advice, since that's why we post here. 1. If something feels rehearsed, it probably is. 2. Gather receipts before you gather rage. 3. Sunlight beats arson. 4. Being good doesn't mean being a doormat. 5. Build something with your hands, wind, wood, dough, dirt. Make a life that answers back. People keep telling me I'm strong. I'm not. I'm just someone who finally stopped arguing with gravity. The boat points where I want to go now. The wind fills. I lean, I adjust, and I move. I have many other stories. Go to my channel, subscribe so you don't lose us. Give me a thumbs up.